Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. We gon' come and see about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra read about it. Say you wanna beef about it. Find out nothing sweet about it. Flexing ain't discreet about it. Extra, extra read about it.
B Woods on the Mic podcast, and we got a legend here. We got a legend. He's worked so many different things in the radio business, from programming to making sure that jocks are good from the beat, like literally creating the lane for so many different personalities that you've ever heard on the radio, creating the culture of Los Angeles radio, doing his thing.
Yeah.
The footprints. When you talk about the footprints of the influence of radio, this guy has made it happen, and I'm so proud and so happy to have him with me. Tawala Sharp is in the building, baby.
He was what it is, baby. Yeah.
We out here. We out
Straight
here.
Beat love in full effect. Yeah.
Beat love in full effect. And I had to have you on here because it's just so dope, man, because you were at the beginning stages, not only my career, of so many different people. And since I've been doing this podcast, your name is just it's the one. You like the golden voice. You like the golden voice. So I'm gonna start Tawala. Before we get into your story, we're gonna play a game. All right,
let's go.
It's called name that person.
Okay, all right.
Name that person. All right. And let me know if you can hear it, because we had technical difficulties. We're going to make this happen. All right, here we go.
You would not want to lie. Dude, I swear to goodness, it was a trip. It was a trip, man. And I got in my car, and I remember driving up La Brea, and I just went to tears. Wow. Finally got my opportunity. You did it. Finally, man. You made it happen. And, shout out to everybody who assisted me, who helped me, who let me sit around on their shift, who taught me. Tawala, that's my guy. Let me tell you, because he was doing overnights, and he was like, "Man, anytime you want to train, come on in."
All right, who is that?
That sounds like Chuck Dizzle, but I'm. Let me think. I mean,
think about it.
That I'm like, man, like
think about it.
I'm like, yo, who used to come in overnights with me? Yo, wait a minute.
Here we go.
Wait a minute.
I want to get my Steve Harvey on.
That's not my man Armand, is it? That's not my man Armand.
Armand, there we go.
Man, okay. Cause I'm like, look, there's only two cats that I know got the super smooth, and I'm like, all right, like when Chuck wants to go low, Chuck Dizzle could go low, but I'm like, no. That's Armand. Yeah, that's 10 the points right there.
10 points for you. Got it. 10 points. All right. We going to round number two. Here we go.
What was that? Beat? Yeah, to the beat. Yeah, to the beat. So, that was me being at Pasadena City College.
Right.
And just going to classes and taking classes and meeting this dude named Tawala.
Another name I've heard of many times.
Yo, so Tawala Sharp, man, my guy, like he just met him, cool brother. And he was just like, all right, man, it was just love. We just both shared the passion for music. And he was interning with, he was Julio G's night show producer.
Yo, is that my man Chris Los?
And that's when I was like, yo, you at the beat? Like, yo, like that's fire, dude. I'm over here at Kiss FM. But then it was just respect, like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, man, he over here trying to get it too. Like, I'm over here doing this night show thing, you know, boom. So that kind of really led to him growing into a new position in the music department.
All right.
And being like, well, look, man, it's an opportunity. I don't know what it could be.
All right.
Who you got?
All right, so is that my man Chris Los?
Chris Los, there we go.
All right.
You got it. You 20 points. You moving and grooving. We got a couple more. We got a couple more. All right, here we go. And you're doing good. This is my Steve Harvey. All right, here we go. Survey says, all right, here we go.
So big shout out to my dog, Tawala Sharp. You know Tawala. Everybody knows Shout out to my guy, Tawala. Yeah, you know Tawala. Tawala Sharp was the music director. So under, I want to say Dorsey Fuller. Shout out to Dorsey too. Them my dog. So Tawala he would make the schedule for the part-timers to be on the air. So he would still put me on the air. And
all right, who's that?
Oh.
You need to hear it again? You good?
All right, play one more time. All right,
here we go.
So big shout out to my dog, Tawala Sharp. You know Tawala. Everybody knows Shout out to my guy, Tawala. Yeah, you know Tawala. Tawala Sharp was the music director. So under, I want to say Dorsey Fuller. Shout out to Dorsey too. Them my dog. So Tawala he would make the schedule for the part-timers to be on the air. So he would still put me on the air. And
all right,
look, I'm gonna go out on a limb on this one. And
okay.
I'm gonna say that might be Chuck because I was putting Chuck on the schedule. But yes, not Chuck. That's not Chuck.
That's not Chuck.
No.
That's not, but I'll give you a hint. His nickname is the opposite of dog.
No, that's not Cat.
That's Cat.
That's Cat. Oh man. Hey, you know what? Because I was putting Cat on schedule even for running the board, just like he would come in late nights and be like training on the board while he was looking for his shot to get on with Steve Harvey. That man, that dog, my dude.
You've been showing so many love. The one answer you did get right was this one. This is the one you got right. Here we go.
Hear a couple of them, and he's critiquing me at the time, but fast forward a couple of weeks later, I don't know what's gonna come of it, but he hits me. I remember he left a voice note. He was like, "Chuck Dizzle, this is T Sharp. I just want to let you know that on Friday you're gonna start your first shift overnight. I hear it to this day.
Oh man,
I get goosebumps because all the shit that I worked for to that moment, this is like the goal of all goals in my life, to become to be in radio.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
I remember that. You want to talk about someone who was beside themselves with joy, just like, yo, I'm actually gonna get this shot to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? I listen to all those playbacks and I look at all these brothers and where they're at and what they're doing, and it fills my heart with joy knowing that I played some role in helping get them there and helping them along this path and doing this thing that we all love. Like, that's, for me, it's what it's always been about, man, showing love to every single person. Because when I was an intern, bruh, there was not a lot of love, and I said, man, when I get this, because I'm gonna get it, gonna get it. And I'm going to make sure I show love to every single person. I'm going to make sure I don't just put my foot in the door. I'm going to crack that bitch open and make sure everyone gets a chance to shine. Man, that's love, man. Shout out to Chris, Kat, Chuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, man, that's family for real. That is family,
man. And it's so many different people. And it's just like I said, it's just the beginning. So many different, since I've been doing this podcast and obviously just working with you too, everybody just really, really owes such a debt of gratitude to you. And that's why I was like, I gotta have you on here.
And look, man, when I saw you doing it, I was like, oh, just the love you show it. I'm like, wait a minute, I've got to come on. You got twin DJ Dents in the building. I've got to be a part of this beat movement. Like you're bringing back so many dope conversations. It's like when I watch the podcast and I see all these people relaying their memories of the beat, I keep seeing it in my mind, like this is a movie. Like what we were a part of was so impactful and so important in Los Angeles. And I don't know if anyone realized it till it was gone.
Right.
So you see what you're doing here, and you see you bringing these people back and taking everyone down memory lane, reminding them what made LA what it is, the foundation. This is important, brother. What you're doing is this is crucial.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I think that, like you said, nobody really brings it to the attention, because when you look at like New York, they show so much love to their history, their heritage, their jocks, their station. to this point to where, you know, Power 105 and Hot there. I mean, there's still the jocks are still play a role in hip hop and the journey. And then when you look at the beat, it's just like we know the stories and we know the impact.
Right.
But when you talk about LA radio, the story really just comes down to, and big shout out to K-Day, you know, 1580. However, the beat and that part of the time period changed the game.
Yeah.
It changed the game.
It's the beat is a legacy, and the beat is a legend in Los Angeles for the West Coast hip hop movement, for what changed the face of music across the country. Remember, New York, it was hip hop. It was that b-boy shit. And in the South, you had their own gangster flair, but it wasn't getting that attention that it should have. Same in the Bay, you had the underground out the trunk artists. When the beat came around and fully embraced hip hop music, when the beat said, you know what, we're gonna go down this hip hop lane. You're wearing the Death Row shirt. That started on the beat. This is back when Power, big up to Power, but Power at the time was not a hip hop station. They had the Baker Boys, and the Baker Boys had a hip hop show, and the Baker Boys exposed, you know, a different segment of Los Angeles to hip hop. But the beat was the station that made West Coast gangster rap mainstream. That's when you started hearing all of these artists on the air. You started seeing them on the big stages. Summer Jam, you had the big West Coast artists on the stage, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
To me, these artists, Death Row, Aftermath, you know, all these different folks that you know now, Quick, Sugar Free, you know, everybody, they all had a home at the beat. And I remember when Power flipped and started rocking with hip hop, it just made it that much bigger, but it all started with the beat, because remember, the beat was the only Black station on the entire West Coast. Every other station was a rhythmic station. They played hip hop, but the Black audience wasn't their target. For the beat at that time, when the beat started, it was. And then you came with No Color Line saying, hey, basically, if Black folks are loving this, Latino folks are digging it, white folks are grooving to it, Asian people are bobbing their head, you know, our Pacific Islanders are rocking with it. Everyone's getting down with this same hip hop music, but our target was a Black audience, and that's what made the beat so powerful. For the entirety of the West Coast, from the Bay on over to San Diego, you had one West Coast station that was targeting Black music. That was our goal, and that's what made the beat so powerful, because we sold every record that was sold on the West Coast. It was sold because the beat was playing it. If anyone across the country picked up a West Coast artist, Exhibit, picked up a record from the Dog Pound, from Snoop, everyone was saying, is the beat playing it? If the beat's not playing it, because every other station around the country, think about it. You have the South, and the South is the South. From Texas to Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, you've got a bunch of artists who represent that Southern sound, and they've got an entire region to rock with. From the East Coast, a whole nother region. And that's why you had so many East Coast artists dominate for so long, because they took up so much presence from New York on down, because you have what? Bunches and bunches of rhythmic stations that are like, oh, let's get down with this. But in the West Coast, you just had the beat. And that's what made it the crown jewel of the West.
And the thing is, we had it to where we had the streets integrated. Like the streets was rocking with the beat. You know, before I was even at the station, I was chasing the street team van. I saw them in the neighborhood, and they stayed in the neighborhood, which was crazy because the beat street team van was a staple, and it was the connection to the radio station. And so you felt like you were a part of it. And then you had the jocks that really, really made it community, to where you were like, okay, damn, I'm seeing folks that, you know, that I'm listening to, but I'm hearing my folks on the radio, like from the call-ins to everything down, it was just connected to make the music feel more authentic. And then you put, you know, DJ Quick and the Sugar Freeze doing drops with Theo. And that was the first time I even heard, you know, like, you don't hear like a Kendrick doing something like a real, like you wouldn't see like, yeah, it was like pulled out. Go ahead.
You had this connection to the beat where you had people who were actually from the street. You had people who were from the hood. You had, you know, everyone from Julio G, you know, Diana Steele, you know, even, you know, different cats that were on the John London House Party, you know, Kevin Slow Jam and James, all these people who you could touch, you could meet, you could see them in the supermarket, you could see them in Linwood, you could see them in Compton, you could see them in Inglewood, you could see them in South Central, you know, all the way to, you know, the Valley, Pasadena, wherever, folks that were connected to the hood, and everyone from the street team who's straight brothers and sisters from the neighborhood that you would see at your high school, you would see at the club, and you were like, yo, these folks are real life. They're in the street, they're in the hood, they're hanging out with us. Come and hang out with me, get these t-shirts, whatever. We're gonna do a straight wet t-shirt contest on the street team van. It made it larger than life. I think the beat in LA was one of the first stations to make their personalities, at least on the West Coast, superstars. The personalities were as big as the artists and the music that they were playing. That's why you had every artist in the world doing a drop for Theo. You had every West Coast artist in the world coming through on West Side Radio, on the Wake Up Show, on The Joint, on so many streets. Dominique DePrima had the streets locked with Street Science. There was from top to bottom, all the way to Get Up, Stand Up. There's so many different shows that were legacy shows that were connected to the community. And I think you hit it on the head when you say the beat was loved by the people. It was because the beat really did give a fuck about the community.
Real
the beat
talk.
was in the streets and was real with it. You know?
And that was the thing. And like, even for me, it was just like, you really, like, say first, I was just a student in Santa Monica. Once I got to the beat, they're like, oh, okay. It's almost like we conquered that territory. We could put the flag up here because now it's legit. You got somebody from the street team at Pasadena City. Okay, now it's legit. Now El Camino, it's legit. So now it's just like, okay, I can't front on them because I'm seeing students that were just students, and now I'm here on the air with Thea. They're really picking up folks that are around town. And so let's talk about your story. I mean, because I think most people, you know, they know you from radio and what your influence is, but we really don't know how did you get started, and what made you even want to go this direction in terms of this media?
You know, what's interesting is growing up, I was a horrible student. You know, I was, you know, heavily influenced by the streets. I thought, you know, hanging out with the crew was the thing to do.
And you from Pasadena, right?
I'm from Pasadena. And you know, I was a dropout, got kicked out of school, and at the time, you know, I wanted to be an MC. I thought that was gonna be my future. I'm like, man, you know, I got mad flows, I'm gonna do it. And started up this group at the time called Bass Almighty. And we got an opportunity to perform at the album release party for this film called The Inkwell. Don't know if you remember that one, but
yeah, I do remember The Inkwell. Was it Lorenz Tate was in there, right?
Lorenz Tate, yeah, Lorenz Tate. That was like his jump off. That was like the first thing you saw him in. So we got an opportunity to perform there, and Ahmad was like the kind of the headliner. So it was like we were like, yo, we were big fans. We were like, man, we about to open up for Ahmad. This is dope. And we had a song called Ain't No Party. And it was what was the hook? The hook was ain't no party like a West Coast party, because a West Coast party don't stop. And the music director at the time, her name is Mariama Schneider, and she was in the crowd, and she came up to us after the show, and she was like, yo, I really, really dig your record. I'm the music director at the Beat. We about to go hard with hip hop. Like, you know, we're changing the game. And I'm just like, you know, because at the time it was like, all right, the Beat, power, I don't know who's playing the most hip hop, whatever, cool. I took her serious, and I said, all right, cool, I'm gonna get you my record. And sent her the record, and she got it to Michael Mixon Moore. And Michael Mixon Moore, who was the mix show director at the time, he heard it, loved it, and he put it on. First time I ever heard my record on the radio. And we, you know, of course, in the neighborhood, it was like, yo, you guys are on the Beat. What is happening? Yo, and after that, we was all over the Beat. Evan Luck, who was doing, He was doing like a kind of like the Julio G shift. He had us on his show for a feature called can't remember, it was like the 7 o'clock bomb or something like that. But he had us on, and we got on, and after that we was just doing shows. We were just doing shows with the beat. We did a show in Long Beach. I remember Outkast, when no one knew who they were. They just had the Players Ball single, and it wasn't really popping in LA like that, but they performed. And Ill Al Scratch. Ill Al Scratch were my homies. They were the headliner. We did shows with Caution, just all the shows, all like the little up and coming West Coast groups. And I thought I was done. I thought like, yo, that's it. We're on the beat. We out of here. We're like, we about to be stars. And fast forward, we were not stars. You know, the label that we were with fell apart. And I was like, okay, fuck it. You know, back to the neighborhood or whatever. And a young brother named Jesse Collins. Jesse Collins is if you don't know the name Jesse Collins, shame on you. Because I promise you, you watch Soul Train Awards, you watch BET Awards, you watched the Super Bowl last year, you know Jesse Collins because you've seen his work. Jesse Collins was he was a part-timer. He did the weekends. He came to Pasadena City College, and he was talking about what he does. He's like, yo, so I work at this station called Beat, and this is what I do, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, wait a minute. You have a job at the Beat? Like you would get paid working there? And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So like, if I know Mariama, like, you think I could get a job there? And he was like, dude, if you know Mariama Sider, like, yeah, most definitely. And I reached out to Mariama, and she was like, always showing love. Whenever I reached out to her, I would send her drops, whatever. Like, yo, I got a drop for Julio, I got a drop for Theo. She would always just listen to my music, period. And she said, hey, T, I can't just give you a job, but I can bring you on as an intern. And I'm like, okay, what is that? What does that mean? Like, because when I was going to Pasadena City College, I was just taking classes. I was just, you know, I was just going just because I like
most of us.
You know what I'm saying? Checking out the honeys. I mean, I took cosmetology, I took small business, I took a bunch of classes.
Yoga.
You know, but when she told me I could be an intern, I was like, okay, so how do you do that? She said, well, if you go to your local college, you know, they should have a radio class, and get in there and you see if you can intern. I said, okay, cool, bet. Went back to Pasadena City College, found out they had a telecom program, enrolled. First time I ever got an A in my life. First time I ever got any grades, was ever serious about anything, because I wanted to get to the Beat. Went through all these classes, and finally got the opportunity to get into their internship program, reached out to Mariama, and she was like, okay, boom. Julio G has a show on at night now. We're bringing Julio on. He's moving, you know, on from West Side, or from Ruthless Radio. You know, this was like a little bit after the passing of Easy. And she said, I want you to be Julio G's intern. And I'm like, okay, cool. Had no idea what being an intern was. I just wanted to be up in there. And this is like around 90, 94, 95. About 94, 95. And I came on, you know, and I was Julio G's intern. And I'm like, okay, so I didn't know anything about it.
And you knew everything about Julio beforehand?
Yeah, I mean, like, I knew just because Julio's, you know, Julio's from the neighborhood, you know, Master Legend, K-Day, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'll be up in there, you know, but it's like, for me at the time, I'm also like, you know, well, I'm kind of fresh too, you know what I'm saying? Like, the Beat played my record. I had a little bubble around my head, but I came in there and had no idea what I was doing, because at Pasadena City College, we're just reading books. You know, we're reading books and studying and this, that, and the other, but you know, even at PCC, at KPCC, when you go over there to work, you're not doing anything. They just want you to sit there and kind of monitor the board and take down information. You're not doing anything. She was like, okay, so T, here's what we need you to do. You know, she introduced me to the phone. She was like, yeah, I need you to help wind these carts, this, and I was literally learning on the spot. You know, so she had me come in, you know, clean the cart machine. I was like, all right, yeah, word. I'm telling you, like 6 hours later, she came back like, why are you still here? I'm like, oh, I was just making sure this cart machine was clean, because I sat there the entire time looking at it. Like, let me do that. No, let me try this. Just learning on the spot.
And when you were at the Beat at that time, because I know that was kind of my experience too, was once I got there as an intern, I didn't want to leave. It was one of those magical places where, because I got there when it was when they had like the West Coast Wednesdays. And so when I walked through the door, there was like Cube, there was like Snoop, like doing the mid. They each artist would do a shift, right? So Ice-T would do like the afternoons, and E40 would do the midday. Like it was crazy. So the energy was crazy when I went there, because I never saw anything like that. It was like a hip hop Disneyland. So when you were at the beat, was that the same experience for you, or were your head in the books?
I was I remember when Mariama brought me on, and she was like, okay, what is your ultimate goal? And I said, I want your job. She was like, oh shit. Like, okay, cool, do it, get this job. Because I was like, I want to be the music director, because I want to be the person in charge of putting music on the air. Because I, all the people that I came up with, all the West Coast acts that I knew, from just being out there, I wanted to make sure that I was giving them a shine. And that was my goal. My ultimate goal at the time was to be the music director. And I interned, man, I was with Julio maybe for like 6 months. I mean, I was interning with him forever, up to the point where the internship was over, and Mariama was like, yo, like, I need to keep you on. I'm trying to make some moves and get you a job here, but I need you to still be here. And I'm like, what?
How were you making your bread?
Oh man, I was working. I had a day job at this place. At the time, it was Jamba Juice. Jamba Juice had just come to Pasadena, just come to California. So Jamba Juice opened up in Pasadena. So I was working at Jamba Juice, and I had a job at PCC delivering mail around the campus. I would do that, get on the bus, catch the bus out to Hollywood. This is back when the beat was on Yucca, where crackheads was out front, where we was getting sweated by gang members. It was wild in Hollywood. It was wild. And I was just in there. And I remember when my internship was coming to an end, I went to the dean at PCC, and I was like, hey, they're about to cut my internship. I need you to help me, because the internship program here at PCC is done. She was like, Tawala, write up the goal of me continuing this internship. If I approve this, I want you to write up what your ultimate goal was. I said, basically, I want to get back in there. I'm going to get a job in so many years. I'm going to become the music director. I'm going to become the program director. I'm going to get on air. I had all this stuff that I wrote out. I turned it in, and she said, boom, I'm going to put you back in there. And maybe, I'd say another 3-4 months after that, money got moved around with it. At the time, I don't even think we were Clear Channel. It might have still been
AM/FM,
Evergreen, maybe Chance. I mean, because I was there through AM/FM, through Chancellor, through Evergreen, before Clear Channel, and before iHeart. I mean, it's like when I was at the beat, it was like in the beginnings of the beat. And yeah, I came back in there, and Mariam was like, okay, cool. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna give you some money. Like, they put me on as a part-time employee. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm getting paid to be up in here, answering the phones, making sure Julio's straight, and I'm in here. She would have me do what are they called? Call out tapes. So I'll go and like do the call out tapes to send out to listeners, like to check the music. One time they say, hey, Tawala, we want you to organize the music library. I said, all right, cool. Went in there, big ass room full of just music and CDs and records, shit all over the place.
Yeah.
They sat me in there, and this was like right after Julio's show. They told me this, and I said, all right, cool. They came back in like the next morning, like 8-9 o'clock. It was like shit was organized. I had it alphabetized, every CD, every cart, every record, and they were like, dude, were you here all night? Like, it wasn't. I'm like, if to me back then, my motto was, if you ask me to do something the next time you see me, I better say it's done. I wasn't someone who you were going to come to and keep asking about it. My goal was to make myself invaluable. I needed to be able to be the one who, no matter what, my answer was yes. And I lived that shit. I was there damn near. There was a point in time when I was probably spending like 12 hours at the beat, man.
And that's the thing that's so crazy, because when you look at like the culture of a place you work at, like you set the culture for the beat, because that was the culture coming in, and it was almost an unspoken culture. Everybody that went there at the beat, they knew, okay, if I want to be here and I want to stay here, I gotta put in this work. but even being at the station didn't feel like work because it was so much fun. And
Yes.
so that was the
Yes.
thing that was so crazy, because it was a place that you were handling your business, but at the same time it was fun. When you were with Julio, like, were artists coming in, and were you developing relationships with artists?
Oh, constantly. I mean, I was, because to me, I looked at it as like, again, well, I'm an artist too, you know, so people will come in. So I wasn't like, you're not going to see a whole lot of photos of me with folks, but I've met every single person that ever came through to the station. I was walking them in, hanging with them, but my goal was I was constantly getting business cards from all the record reps, and all the record reps from all the labels who would come in. I built great relationships with them because I was, I kept the humble. I made sure I was, whatever they needed, I was trying to make happen for them. If they were like, man, dude, my artist is hungry, I'd be like, hey, there's a pizza shop around the corner. I'll run around and get some slices for you, whatever y'all need.
And the thing that's so crazy is just because and did you feel like were you still in your mind wanting to be an artist too? Because now you're in a radio station, you got the plug. Was there anything where it's like, okay, now with record reps, maybe I could get my thing popping to the next level? Or was it always like, let me just do this radio thing?
At the time, my goal was 100% on the radio, right? Just trying to see where it would go. And, fast forward to the point where, I was paid a little bit more. They're like, okay, Tawala, now you are we're paying you as Julio G's producer. You're an executive producer of the Julio G show. And I'm like, oh, and I think I was getting, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 grand, something. I was like, but come on, man. Right. I was getting paid to do something I was doing for free for like a year and a half. Like, now you're paying me? Man, cool. I called one of my jobs like, hey, yo, John Bejuice, I quit. You know what I'm saying? I'm over here at the beat, baby. You know what I'm saying? Come and get a sticker or something.
Exactly.
But fast forward, there was a point in time when there's always a changing of the guards, right? There's always movement at the beat. People are coming, people are going. Positions were created, positions were eliminated. And I remember a point in time when Mariama Snyder, she was leaving the beat. At this point, she become the assistant program director. They brought in a new program director from the Bay, Michelle S. And at the time, Mariama, she was really getting into like working with records and working with artists. And she had an opportunity to go and run Bone Thugs and Harmony's label. Mo Thugs Records, what was that shit called? Yeah, Mo Thugs, right? So she was going over there, and she came to me and she said, Tawala, I'm about to be running Mo Thugs, but I want some hip hop over there. Hip hop, like what you do, like that backpack shit, right?
Wow.
And I'm like, she put me in the studio with Fred Reck, the legend. Fred Reck played some beats for me, and I was like, yo, let's go. And I was at that crossroads where it was like, do I leave the beat? Do I leave everything I'm doing and this go here and go with Mariam and try to get on as an artist over here and be, out there with Bone Thugs,
meet me at the crossroads. For real.
Man, for real. And at the same time, Michelle S., she was like, hey, T, I need you here. What you do is invaluable. Your knowledge, your straight up honesty, like you don't hold, water for nobody, for no artist. If you're not feeling something, you'll tell an artist to their face, a label, anyone. You keep it 100 at all times. I need that here in the music department. And I'm sitting there like, oh, like Mario was like, yo, I'll sign you tomorrow. And Michelle S. is like, I need you over here. And I prayed on it. I got down on my knees. I was like, God, like I need an answer, like for real. Holla at me. Let me know what should I do? And I think someone may have been driving by, but they were playing the beat on the radio at the time I'm praying, and I'm just like, that's the answer. I need to be at the beat. And it's all love. Like, it wasn't like Mariama, F you. No, it was like, yo, sis, I'm here because of you. You gave me a shot when no one else would. Like, you believed in me. I got to do this. I got to follow this through. She was like, all love, I see some Mo Thugs records, and I got you, right? And I went to Michelle. Michelle was like, boom, T, I want you to, and at the time, this wasn't even a position. But she was like, I want you to be the assistant music director. And I just heard music director. That's all I heard. I just heard music director. And I was like, hell yeah. And then she said, look, I'm gonna introduce you to this cat, Dorsey Fuller. And they brought Dorsey in, and Dorsey at the time, him and his partner Disco, they had been producing shows for the Wake Up Show and doing a bunch of concerts and stuff like that. And she brought him in to be the music director. And I remember she had us out at this super, super fancy restaurant, had a big press release and all the labels. Cause I'd been building, to your earlier question, all these relationships with the labels. So I knew everybody. Personally had they sales, had met their families, like I knew these cats. So these cats trusted me. They trusted my word. They were like, yo, if T says it's hot, it's hot. If T says it's whack, it's not. He's not gonna front on us. They put me on, and the rest is as they say, is history. Like me and Dorsey, we set out to do some things at the beat that at the time they weren't even thinking about doing, and not that they were against it, it's just they needed that new blood to say, we're going to make the beat even hotter, if you could imagine that.
And that's the thing, because you got two brothers in there that know what's popping, and
yes.
And that was the engine. You guys were like, because who gets the face of the beat were always the jocks, but nobody gets to see the engine that actually, that's almost like the frame of the car, so to speak.
Right.
It look nice, but you look under that hood, you see Tawala and you see Dorsey really making this thing move the way it moved. Now, and pop your collar a little bit. Like, what are some of the things that you made happen at the beat? Some of the artists that you gave the opportunity to. Some of the stories that you that you made it happen.
Early on, a lot of record labels hated coming in when they saw me, because if you came in, I was so hip hop, it was unbelievable. I was like, you were starting to hear shit on the beat like in regular airplay from like De La Soul, and just it was we were going hip hop, not pop hip hop. Hip hop.
Yeah.
And so when labels would come in and they would play shit, my favorite word was shit is whack. It's whack. Just because because if it was whack, it was trash. It didn't matter. Mm-hmm. I remember the first music test, the audience test I went to, and they put us in a room with 100 plus people and was playing, the music we thought was hot. And you could see that little graph on the screen go way down, and they play some regular stuff and it go way up. That was my education. And when I started learning how radio works, how music is programmed, how the science behind selecting music, testing music, and how requests and all of that stuff are an influence, how the DJs influence, they're bringing stuff from the street and from the clubs and letting us know what's hot. When I started to learn all that, I became a better programmer. And one of the first artists that we really were able to give some serious shine to is a young brother that his name is Tyrese.
Tyrese, yeah.
Tyrese came in. Tyrese had just had, all he had at the time to his name was the Always Coca-Cola commercial.
I remember
on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And he had gotten signed to, I believe it was RCA, and they brought him in. And this dude, you think we was fans of the beat? This dude was like, he was like, yo, I'm at the beat. Like, for real, what am I doing here? He was like, yo, please, my dream is to perform at Summer Jam. That is my dream. And he came through, brought Roscoe's for us. And we was like, yo, you already winning, brother. You bringing Roscoe's to the station.
Right.
And we said, and he didn't really have a song out. He didn't have a song. He had just gotten signed. Didn't have a song, but he was like, I just want to perform. We said, all right, cool. You can come through and do the national anthem and do your Always Coca-Cola, do that, right? And he came out and opened up Summer Jam, national anthem, had the crowd on their feet. I'm like, people was crying. You ever seen thugs cry? Thugs crying doing the national anthem. They hit him with the Coca-Cola. I'm like, that's a memory that will forever be burned into my mind. Like being there in the beginning when you see this kid and he comes out, and it was all love after that. And when he came with his first single, it was like we're playing the single from the homie. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, that's our dude. He brought that record in and it was on the air instantly. you know, stuff like that. That's when you win.
And that's the thing. That's I was just having this conversation too. And it's just like what made it was so dope with artists was the beat. Because now when you look at radio, I don't really think it's that same type of pride of, okay, how do we attach the artist to the radio station?
Right.
It's not that same thing. I remember when I was at K, I won't say the program director's name. I remember people were calling me about Drake, you know, like, and so I had the opportunity to bring Drake, do a phoner or whatever, come to the station, do an interview. And I knew you know the buzz that's happening on the street. Yeah. You can feel that. So as a jockey, like, oh, this about to be the next one. So I go into the office and I say, I got this guy, his name is Drake. He's not even out here, but I'm getting phone calls. My first inclination, almost like the beat, is like, if you tie yourself to this person early, they're going to show you love, the station love forever. Program records like, does anybody know Drake? Pete Woods wants to interview Drake. And then everybody was just quiet. Long story short, he's still doing his thing. So yeah, it's the culture that we came from. And so even when Tupac did Live and Die in LA, he gives a shout out to the beat. Yeah. Right. What was your relationship with Pac?
You know what? I'd only met Pac a couple times before he had died, and not even that it was like, yo, Pac, what up? It's just I met him at chance encounters. Like every time he came to the beat, I was never there. He would come during the day. He would come through on Theo's show. I was on the bus on my way over to get on with Julio. So it's like every time he's there, I'm like, man, dude, I missed him again. You know what I'm saying? I had seen him in the studio once and this and that, but we had never gotten a chance to really chop it up, even though we had him on shows and all this, that, and the other. Never got a chance to chop it really tough with Pac. I remember when one point in time, this girl group came to the station and they had a single, and you know, Shelly Sabran, rest in peace, she brought them to the station and she wanted to get them on with Julio. And Julio was like, man, nah, dude. Like, come on, man. Like, we about to get into, you know, the 9 o'clock bomb and this, that, the other. And they had been in the kitchen, in the quote unquote green room for a while waiting, you know, and, you know, little girls, right? And it was like, man, you know, and I'm feeling bad. And then the record rep Shelly, she was like, yo, we just got the remix by Wyclef. And I went to Julio and I said, yo, Julio, Wyclef did the remix and he'll call in to introduce him. Julio was like, why did you say that earlier? Like, Wyclef, that's my dude. Yeah. I go into the kitchen, these girls like they are like damn near in tears, like sad, broke up because they're thinking that, and I remember like the lead girl of the group was like, they don't want us on. I'm like, nah, for real. We're working it out. Julio was like, yo, if Wyclef calls in, I'll go on and bring him in. Bring the girls in the studio, they sit down, all that, they're all excited now, the spirits are lifted. Wyclef calls it, yo, Julio, my man, I want to show mad love. Thank you for having my girls on. Here comes a brand new remix produced by me. Ladies and gentlemen, Destiny's Child. And it was like for real, do you see Destiny's Child now? Right then at that point, no one was playing their record. No one was playing that record. We just got the remix hot off the presses. We broke that remix. I remember getting a call from one of the top cats over at Columbia, and they was like, yo, is the beat really on this record? We're like, hell yeah, we're on it. It's fire out here. They released the remix as the main single. And I remember she told me, she was like, hey, don't tell nobody this, even though we're telling everyone right now. But yo, for real, we didn't know if we was going to keep this group. Because at that time, it was tough for girl groups getting signed and staying on.
Real talk, because you had like the 702s, you had those, and it was so crazy too, because I remember Destiny Child, remember the after Grammy party?
Yes, and the hot dammy Grammy party.
After, and they performed there.
Yep.
They performed there, which was crazy. And the other thing, it's so, which is insane, because you look at Beyonce, and Beyonce's been, you know, like, you don't think of her as an old school artist, so to speak, but you're talking about 97, 98. For real. And that's still relevant, and how much the beat played into Destiny's Child's career. And that's the thing that people don't really realize, because we have I always thought what was dope is when you talk about music, especially when we talk about West Coast hip hop, we talk about the hip hop side of it, but we never talk about the R&B side of the influence of the beat, which was crazy also. And so when you think about people like John B and you know,
Right.
and all the and Tyrese, and what was your role in these R&B artists coming to the station, the Next, the Jagged Edges, these type of artists?
You know, it was my role, especially as and I was hungry. You know, every label knew that they could call me and I'm gonna get right back to you. I'm gonna holler back. And it was T. I've got so and so in town, brand new, want to get them on. Ideal, you know, on and on and on. You had what was the cat's name? TQ. There are so many different artists
TQ.
who came out and hit. And even Jill Scott, even I remember Jill Scott, funny story about her too, but there were so many different artists that our job was essentially the gatekeepers. You know, we were the ones that's like, we had to make sure that we were on the pulse of the music, and our goal was to bring these artists in, get them on the air and claim them, make sure that they know like, yo, you started here at the beat, like the beat is breaking artists. That was our goal, is to be on top of hot shit. Neo, man, Neo was someone I went to the debut show of Neo at I believe it was at the Key Club up in Hollywood, and I saw this cat perform and I was like, this dude is a genius, a superstar. I was at the club and the record was like, T, man, you know, come on, Spinderella was DJing, and I remember it's hilarious. Spin was on the air, and they was like, yo, T, man, I got this Neo record, man. I know you say you loved him at the show. He's in the club, man. Can you put it on? Can spin it right now? You know, the club is hot. And I was like, let me go talk to her. Hey, yo, Spin, I got this Neo record. She was like, Tawala, man, I'm in the middle of my mix, dude. Like, I can't. Like, yo, come on, man, he's right here. T, I can't. I'm in the mix. I don't know the record like that. I can't just throw it on. It's gonna fuck me up, like, for real. And I remember they looked over there, was like, man, you ain't gonna play my artist record. That's fucked up. He's standing right here. And I said, yo, don't worry, I got you. We're breaking the record. We're putting it in, adding it to rotation out the box. That was one of those things that was like, if the beat adds your record out the box, you're a brand new artist, no one knows you.
Right.
The beats adding your record, basically sight unseen. I don't know if the audience is going to react to it or not. I have no idea. I heard that record and said, this record is fire. We're putting it on. Added that shit. The record went Jupiter. It went, you know, to Saturn and back.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And it's just like, that was the impact of the beat. West Coast art. I want to throw some names at you and you tell me a story. Brandy and Ray J, Carson, California. What was the relationship at the beat?
Man. All right, look. Okay. Woo! Loved Brandy. Loved Brandy. And this is a real story. I don't even know if this is a story that's not public knowledge, but at the time, a lot of people had issues with Brandy's manager, her mom.
Her mom, right.
And Brandy was brought to the station, and John London and the house party, you know, being who they are, they had issues with Brandy's mom, and it turned into beef. And then they created this bit on their morning show where Brandy would be talking to her mom and like talking shit about Monica. And then they would have somebody else going like, oh, hey, Monica, blah, 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 blah. It was hilarious.
Right.
Problem is, listeners thought it was real. People started believing that Brandy really did have beef with Monica. And people started hating Brandy. They brought Brandy out one year to Summer Jam. I remember I'm standing on the side of the stage, you know, and they brought her out and they started booing Brandy.
Shit.
They booed Brandy so hard that I don't think she did any more shows in LA. She was like, yo, fucking, I'm not even performing in LA.
That's crazy.
I remember, fast forward some years later, Brandy was dropping a new album, and me and Dorsey, you know, were the dynamic duo. They invited us out to this dinner that she was having to just come through and basically squash the beef. And we went and sat with her for a while. I might even have a picture of it on my Instagram. where me and Dorsey are talking to her, and she's kind of like kneeling down and explaining why she can't fuck with the beat. And we was like, sis, there's a new guard in charge. All right. We would never have you on and disrespect you, queen. You are a young Black sister. We got you. We got your back. We need you to come out. Let's squash this beef.
Mm-hmm.
And we successfully, I don't think she did a show for us, but we had her come out and we was playing the shit out of her record. It might've been Full Moon, but we was playing the shit out of her record. And we showed mad love. At the time, we had a new morning show on, I believe it was maybe right after John London and them. So I think that was right, maybe around the Ed Lover, Dr. Dre time.
Right.
But whatever it was, we had her come out and they showed love, had her on the radio, and the beef was squashed. And after that, we was playing the music, but I don't think she ever did a show for us. Now, when she introduced, her little brother, he had the Wait a Minute record.
Yeah.
And we was like, this is it. This record is fire. We put that record in out the box because that was like, the relationship is solid again. We was cool with her mom. You know what I'm saying? Like we had no problems. You know what I'm saying? It was all love. And we did a show out in Orange County at the Grove and had Ray J out there. And you would have thought Michael Jackson stepped in the building. Like he came out there, did Wait a Minute. And you ain't seen a hyper crowd, a little girl screaming, losing their mind over this dude. and after that, that was kind of like the beef was squashed and we was good, with that family again. We were straight with them. But there were those moments. There were those moments because we were real people. You know what I'm saying? Like we were really, like I was catching the bus still going home, like to the corner, gangbang and get shot. You know, so it was like we were still out there and we were connected to what it meant to be from the neighborhood, what it meant to be a dreamer and to have your music on. Like that meant something to us. So it was important for us to if you're from the West Coast, I'm doing everything that I can to have you on, which is why even at Summer Jam, we created the second stage, because that was our opportunity to have up and coming West Coast artists that may not be ready for prime time for the big stage, but we wanted to be able to give them some shine. So we created the second stage, so that they could still perform, have, thousands of people out there screaming for them and showing love, because for us, it was always about giving back to the West. It was always about representing and making sure that we were available. There's a bunch of West Coast artists who will tell you straight up, like, Tawala was no joke, man. This dude, my brother Problem, man, this dude came to me. He would come into my office like, man, once a week, damn near, with another record, like him and his team. Yo, T, what about this one? Shit is whack. Fuck out of here with this record. You know what I'm saying? And he would just be sitting there like, yo, to my face, like, yeah, my brother, to your face, the shit is trash. Get out of here. Until he came with a hit. And after that, motherfucker ain't stopped making hits. He ain't stopped writing hits, ain't stopped being about hit music. But that comes from dealing with people who keep it real with you. That comes from dealing with people who, like, I don't know, neighborhood I grew up in, we were very mean to each other. We on purpose, like we had to thicken up our skin. And it was just, that's the way it was. It's like this is just fucking life, right? So I made sure that I always kept that with me, and I always made sure, like, don't lie to none of these artists. I remember record reps would be like, you don't like this record? No, I don't. And they would bring the artist in, like, and they would play the record thinking I'm gonna change up, think I'm gonna be in this artist space and be like, oh no, I love it. I'd be like, hey, yo, I told him last week when he brought it in, his record wasn't hot. They'd be sitting there looking like, why am I here being embarrassed right now? Like, why am I going through this?
And that's the thing that's so crazy too, because it's like, now you can it's a different energy now, because like when you do get that feedback from a motherfucker that's been out here, was an artist at the beat, you don't really have that corporate on your back like that. You can be like, I can take that.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different now. It's a lot different now, because
a lot different.
Like, now you got to go through all these like, channels and, and corporate people to say, okay, this is hot and spins and all this other stuff. And for you to be able to do that, especially out here where it's it's active, you know, it's
Yeah.
gang active out here.
Yeah.
And the one thing that, you know, cats in the streets saying like, oh, he disrespect, like, I fuck that nigga, he disrespect me. Like, when you hear that, it's a problem. But if you never, with Tawala, you've never heard that before.
Nah, we did have some moments. I remember when the new West movement started up. You know, you had a whole lot of young cats, you know, from the neighborhood who were coming together, who were like, yo, fuck that, we next. You know, it's our time to shine. And I remember over the speaker at the station, I think Tiffany Sims, I think she might have been the front desk attendant at the time. She was like, boop, Tawala, you have some guests in the lobby. And I remember going out there, and it was like the entire conference room was packed out with brothers who was like, yo, man, yo, you about to play this fucking record, homie. And I remember sitting in there, and I remember thinking to myself, like, hey, yo, man, if these cats want to, you know, catch a fade, then we just gonna have to do that. But I'm not gonna sit in here just because you here and lie to you. And we was in there maybe for an hour and a half, and we walked out of there. It was all love. And this was some major reputables in the room. This is some folks that if they wanted it, it would have been like, man, we lost T. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You would have been a hashtag.
You know, they would have been a hashtag. That could have made that call. But in the end, it was being able to talk to someone who looks like you, who's from where you from, and able to communicate, you know, how it all works. I made it make sense to them. And these young brothers, they walked out of there like, all right, cool, we got it. We dig it. I remember sitting down one time with Mac 10. And you know, Mac 10 at the time, he was Mac 10, you know, but he hadn't dropped a heater in a minute, you know, and he was just like, yo, I'm out here grinding, and I'm out here doing my thing, man, and y'all ain't playing none of my records. And I was like, Mac, dude, man, you know, love you, man, but you know, you ain't giving me nothing. You know what I'm saying? And he jokingly said, you know, with a whole lot of serious, like, man, you know, man, what I gotta do? I gotta come in here like Suge. Like, I gotta come in here and, you know, fuck y'all up. You know, and it was like, it's one of those things that was like, he was serious, you know what I'm saying? But it was coming from a place of like, I feel like I'm being disrespected. I feel like I'm Mac motherfucking 10 and y'all ain't playing my records, you know? And I remember in that meeting, it was like, yeah, Mac, man, I just need a heater, man. I just need a heater. It can't be that the record is hot to you and your homies, right? When you come in here, what you're telling me is your record is just as big as all these artists that I'm playing against. You're not playing against someone else from the neighborhood. You're playing against the hottest records in the country. How do I look? How do I look putting you on and it's not hot? If the record's not hot to me, it's not hot. But if you bring me a heater, I will fight tooth and nail to get it on. That was my code.
And was it harder to get it on a mix show than it was to get it on rotation?
Oh yeah, no, the mixers, man, folks thought I was hard. Yo, the beat junkies, yo, man, and you know, and all the mixers at the beat, yo, you want to talk about some critics? Like, yo, these cats, man, you couldn't pass muster through these cats. They were seriously hard. And there were some records that I remember sitting in with them and putting a record in there and having them all say, nah, shit is whack. And I'm like, wow. Like, I felt like I was stupid.
And then for you, do you feel like, did you ever miss one? Was there ever a record that you said, okay, this is trash, and then it became a hit?
Nah, I don't think that there were any records that I missed that became hits. I think that there were records that to this day, I'm not a fan of. There's records to this day that I'm not a fan of, but that had that certain thing, that had that certain hook, that certain chorus that allowed people to pick up on it. And there are some records that'll surprise me that I'm like, yo, man, I cannot believe that record was a hit. There are also records that I heard out the gate that I knew for a fact were fire. Heard It All Before. Sunshine Anderson, out the gate. Remember they brought the record like, yo, we got a new artist, Sunshine Anderson, Heard It All Before. They played that record. I was like, boom, boom, boom. I was like, yo, fire. Put it on. Record was out of here. You
And then
know?
so like let's take Sunshine. And so now, because Sunshine Anderson, we know her for that first record.
Yes.
The second one comes out. What does Tawala say?
The second one came out, and I remember it was more R&B, and it was like, all right, we'll try it. You know what I'm saying? Just off the respect of the first record. We'll try it. Didn't pop. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't pop, you know, because records don't come out in a vacuum. It doesn't come out and it's just Sunshine Anderson is the only one put out a record. Every week, this is some behind the scenes of how programming works. Every week, I would sit on Mondays, and it would be from like 9 in the morning to sometimes 9 o'clock at fucking night, record reps coming into the office playing records. And each record rep from every label, Def Jam, Interscope, Arista, you know, MCA, all the labels, they're coming in and they've all got 5 or 6 hot records that they're trying to get on. All of them from artists that you know by name. This ain't just a bunch of this is just like they're hot artists, they're new artists, they're rap artists, they're R&B artists. They're all coming in at the same time, trying to go for that Tuesday ad slot. When you've got room to put in on a weekly basis, maybe if you're lucky, 3 records. If you got a lot of records that are burned out, you may have room for 4 new records out of, I'd say, 60 records that may be on your desk. That's how hard it was, and that's the slot they were going for. Hopefully they had something that could go into the mix that was like, yo, this is a no-brainer. The mixes are going to be on it, you know, let's go. Oh, snap. I take that back. A record that I didn't catch. The Lil Jon and the East Side Boys. The windows, to the walls.
Yeah.
That record right there. I didn't catch it till we put them on Summer Jam, and changed my life. Changed my life when I saw that record live. When I saw it live, I was like, you know, I remember they took me to the strip club and they was like, yo, you got to come see him at the strip club. And, you know, I see the girl, she's up on the pole, she's sliding down, dropping and slapping it and ass shaking. And I'm like, hey, yeah, that's cool, but shit ain't hot to me. You know what I'm saying? I don't get it. These dudes sound weird.
And that's the thing too. How does it not become like, you know, smelling cologne to where everything kind of sounds the same after a while? And how do you know, like, okay, I need to step away from it so that I can hear it a little bit better? Did you have any things that you did so that you could kind of listen to things with new ears? Because you had a couple records that did come out that was super different off version. You had D'Angelo, right? And he had the How Did It Feel record, which was completely different than a lot of things that we've heard before. It was like, and I think the video kind of set it off. What was your process?
Every record that was played, and this is something that I took pride in, that I know for a fact a lot of different programmers did not do. A lot of programmers would look at numbers. A lot of programmers, they would look at the stories that the labels will come in with, saying, you know, my record's got so many spins across the country. You know, we got a story, right? Because, you know, it's on this station, that station. And I'd be like, all right, cool, but this is the beat. So I don't give a fuck about these other stations, right? And I would sit there, I would close my eyes and listen. And if the record didn't catch me within like the first 30 seconds, if it didn't hit me in my soul, because I lived this shit, I would listen to music all day. I was a music fiend. I loved music. I love the process. I love hearing the creation. I love, you know, hearing the potential of a record and seeing like, yo, folks may not hear this record now, but this record's going to be fire. That was my thing. So every record I would spend some time listening to it. And if it didn't catch me, it was next, because I had that many records on deck fighting to get in.
And that's what I think made a huge difference, because not only did it seem like, at least with the beat, it seemed like it was the culture of the beat and the sound of the beat was different. I thought it was the blend of like the old school where you would hear Isley Brothers like spiked in, then you would hear, you know, like a Tyrese record, then you hear Death Row, and it just felt, and it was day parted a certain way to really, really make that sound like really pop off. I want to throw off some different things. Death Row Records. What was your relationship with Death Row, Snoop? And were you there? The Dominique DePrima, Street Science, Live and Die in LA. What was the story behind that, if you know it?
I remember that when he came on, and I remember it was a big deal to have him on, but Dominique had known Pac from the Bay. Like, you know, she had known him for years already. Like, so him coming on to Street Science was just that's just a phone call for her. It was just like, yo, that's my people. Like, you know, I'm glad y'all know him as this big superstar, but I've known him since before rapping, right?
Right. But the part where she was like, don't you think violence is this, that, and the other?
You know, I mean, I look, I was never up that early to listen to Street Science, but there was always some type of critique against the beat for the music that we played, you know, because we were playing a lot of the shit that's from the hood. You know, we were playing, that's what we were about, you know, and we mixed in. For me, I would have what I would call small victories. Like if I could get, I remember when I got Mos Def's Miss Fat Booty in regular rotation. That was major for me. That was like, it was like Mos Def. I'm like, yo, Mos Def is the illest lyricist alive. Miss Fat Booty is gonna be huge. They couldn't hear it. Put it in rotation, and it was like, this record is fire.
Yeah.
So there was always some critique against the beat. I remember being in Palm Springs at a music convention, and I don't even know if anyone has it on tape, but me and my sister Yo-Yo, we got into a heated argument over the content of our music and the fact that because the beat was so popular, kids are listening, grandparents are listening, everyone's listening, but the fact that you had kids listening was an issue for a lot of people because, you know, you're playing a lot of gangster rap, you're playing a lot of Death Row, you're playing a whole lot of Gangsta Party, you're playing, you know, a whole lot of Everywhere I Go, I See the Same Hoe. You were playing a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
So you did have folks in the community who were always up in arms about the beat. And I remember, man, Yo-Yo brought fire. She was on me. And I was just, by the time I was just like, man, look, man, I just work here, man. let me just go. But I was so hot that day. But she did change my perspective in that I really started thinking about the impact of what we do. And I remember I've had some legendary fights inside about what we play. I remember Aaron Hall's Don't Be Afraid. I remember playing it. And at the time I was just, you know, I was just working under Julio. And I remember going to him and saying, hey, the lyrics of this record sound like he's singing about raping this girl, you know, don't be afraid, you know, come on in, you know, you'll be screaming daddy to me and running away. I was like, yeah, this shit sounds like date rape. Like, I don't know.
You know what? I've never thought about it. I've never thought about the lyrics until you brought it up right now.
You listen to that record with what we know about, you know, the Me Too movement. You listen to that record, you'd be like, yo, this is a little rapey. It's a little rapey. Right. And I remember going to them and they were like, damn, we got to take this record off the air because the sisters at the stage, you know, Mariama, and then they listened, they were like, yo, I never heard this record like that, but you're right. We got to take it off the air. At the time, listening was like, this is a dope record. But when you sit down and listen as intently as I, you know, as me and a bunch of other folks were, we made change. I remember one behind the scenes tiff we had was me and Theo. And Theo would have all these drops from all these artists who would be like, you know, my in Theo, you know, and I'm, you know, and it was like, I was like, after a while I'm listening one day and I'm like, yo, man, I'm getting kind of, I'm getting hot by Quick and all these artists who are showing love. And this is how the brothers
Tupac, talk, everybody.
Right? You know, this is their love. But I was like, I took umbrage with the fact that Theo is Japanese and he's playing all these records openly on the air, talking about in this, in that. And I'm like, I'm sitting in my office like, yo, I'm black as they come, and I don't get down like that, you know? And I remember I went in there into the studio and I was like, hey, Theo, man, like, and I'm sure I came at him wrong. But I remember I was like, yo, like, basically, I mean, I ain't trying to hear no more of these drops with all this you know, bombs in it, you know, and all this, that, and the other. We got to change this. And he was like, hey, look, man, these are my friends. Like this is how they talk to me. This is them, this, that, and the other. I said, hey, look, I'm telling you, as a black man, this is not cool, right? There's a reason that we bleep that out in the records that we play. There's a reason while I, as a black man, am telling you, this ain't gonna fly, right? And I remember he came up to me and he's like, well, I need you to leave the studio. And I was like, and it was tense only because we were so passionate, because he was so passionate about the love, and he was so passionate about like, yo, these are my drops. Like, I mean, this is every day for me. But he went back and he thought about it. And I remember he came to me, you know, may have been a few days later, but he came to me and he was like, damn, T.I., you know, I never thought of it from that perspective. And from that point forward, he had changed the drops. He went in, edited them, and they didn't lose any of the magic. You know what I mean? They didn't lose any of the magic. And I think there were little things, you know, because I'd always been a conscious brother, like, you know, and even when I was rapping, it was always about, my lyrics are always about the uplift, you know, because my hip hop is from, that really, really gave me life, was from Tribe, was from Gangstar, was from, you know, all those different, you know, groups. I was, you know, down with the Daisy Age and all that.
And salute to you too, because you have to think about, a lot of people just aren't going to stand on a square when it comes to, you know, especially when it comes to black, you know, us being black people and the respect that we deserve, because especially in corporate environments, a lot of times we fall back because it's like, okay, if I check somebody on some real shit, if I say, hey, you know, this issue about Trayvon Martin and whatever,
right,
there's pushback about that. And so you're talking about at a time when Theo is the hottest guy out there, his weight is heavy, and to go in and if people don't know Theo, and I want to get Theo on the show just so I can talk to that.
Oh yeah, gotta find Theo, man.
You gotta find Theo. He's somewhere. Yeah. You gotta find him. And for him, because his personality was like, yo, like he'll push back on you, and he had his way of doing it. That, I mean, salute to you for going there and for him to be able to receive that, because you can't really disrespect like that and expect to be a part of a station that culturally is the foundation of the station is black folks. Without black folks, none of this shit is possible. You know what I'm saying? Like real talk. There was no beat. There is no beat. And so that was dope. With that too, what was going on? Did you guys get any weird energy when the R. Kelly Aaliyah situation popped off at the beat? What was that like?
Oh, yo, I remember I was right there in the mix of it when Sparkle came on with our brother Adimu. Okay. And Sparkle came on and was like, yo, I have just found out you know, this, that, or the other, and you know what R was doing. And that was, I believe that was her niece. I believe that there was some familiar relation with the little girl that was on the tape, the infamous tape that went around. And she came on and exposed it. And at the time it was like every laser beam missile gun, it was like, yo, F the beat. How dare you challenge R. Kelly? Because no one wanted to believe it. Remember, someone came in and brought the tape, and you know, you fast forward through all this just as I want to see the face on this person. And we saw the face, and I'm like, look, man, that's R. Kelly. All right. And at the time, it was really, really tough, because you had a lot of folks who didn't believe it, who still, because it was grainy tape, you know, it wasn't like, you know, laser technology. No, it was VHS, you know what I'm
saying? And to give a little more context too, we were probably the only station that was playing Trapped in the Closet.
Yes.
A1, like every day we played a section of Trapped in the Closet, and my ears were blocked too. I was like, what's going to happen next? You know?
Yes.
So that's
we were the R. Kelly station. You know, big love to KGLH, but you really only heard R. Kelly in LA on the beat. You know what I'm saying? There's more hip hop leaning records. You heard that on the beat. Power wasn't playing, you know, R. Kelly. We were the ones doing R. Kelly shows at the Anaheim Pond and shit like that. We were the R. Kelly station. And so it was tough, because it was like, I remember my heart damn near breaking. I remember just thinking to myself, like, man, I love this dude's music, man. Like, I love this dude's music. But I'm like, if that's him, man, I can't ever fuck with this dude ever again. You know what I'm saying? And we started pulling back on playing this music. I remember we made a conscious effort to pull back, and I remember we caught a lot of heat from a lot of labels for that, because at the time, you're talking like social media isn't a thing. You know what I mean? There is no social media. You had what was it, MySpace maybe?
Yeah.
But there was no like social media like that. So it was word on the street, a whole lot of word on the street. There was no, I saw it on TikTok or I saw the video. No, shit wasn't out there like that, right? If you knew someone that had the tape, then you were able to see it and judge for yourself. And it kind of got washed under the rug, or swept under the rug, because proof, the burden of proof was on this girl to come through, whatever. No one did. I know that there was a whole big hubbub about it, and all of a sudden shit disappeared. But it never sat right. It never sat right with any of us again after that. It was like, we ain't fucking with R. Kelly like that. It was like almost an unspoken protest. We weren't like on the air saying, the beat no longer plays R. Kelly. No, it wasn't that. It was just, we started playing more of this person, just like, we let it fade to black.
And that was the thing too, like you said, like the issue you did without social media, you couldn't, the context for the listener, it wouldn't make sense to them. It'd be too hard to kind of frame it in that way. Artists, I'm just gonna throw some artists out there. Alicia Keys, what was your relationship with her?
Oh man, I remember going to her debut performance. Clive Davis was there introducing her, and I thought she was magical. I thought she was one of the most important artists of our time when I saw her. And that's another one. Just from hearing her perform, I knew that she was the truth, and added that record out the gate. Fast forward, we had some later on, because I thought, you take some ownership with certain artists, like, yo, man, I broke Alicia Keys in LA. So I remember there was a record that she did with Usher, My Boo.
My Boo, yeah.
And we had gotten straight from the studio, can't remember who it was from the label, snuck us a copy of it. And we had My Boo. And this is back when, again, no internet. So we just unplugged our phones and turned the fax machine off, right? Unplug the phones, turn the fax machines off, turn your pager off, whatever. Like we was like, any way that someone could connect with you, turn it off, because we're going to play this record. And we knew the label was going to be hot, right? And they were. And we broke that record and played it. And then the next day, of course, you turn on, there's just fax machine going off. Cease and desist letter, cease and desist letter. And I remember at the time, can't remember who was in charge at the time, but I took real offense to that cease and desist letter. And I said, okay, we're not going to play this record. But when you go for ads on this record and you ready for it, I promise you the beat's not going to be there. You have crossed the line telling us what we can and cannot play. So when this record drops, we're not going to be there. And fast forward, when the record hits and, it hits and the beat's not there, it meant something, because we weren't. We purposely did not add, because it was like, how are you, I get that you got a schedule, but we're the beat, what I'm saying? And we out here making shit happen, and we're getting attacked from Kiss now, what I'm saying? Ryan Seacrest jumped on, after Rick Dees went off, Ryan Seacrest came on, and we was like, Ryan Seacrest? Back from Star? Hell no, he ain't competition. Next thing you know, he was. And it's like, oh shit, it's through Ryan Seacrest's competition. Power switch, and now they're playing hip hop and R&B all day. And we're like, we're getting attacked from all sides. So we had to win. So when a record like My Boo comes out and we get it first, we wanted to go. So that was how the politics played in between. But it was like, but Alicia Keys, every record she dropped, we tried to be there for, because she was super important for the culture, for music, for what it meant to be a singer, like a songwriter. Just to me, she was like the blueprint for what you should be doing in music. And so anytime she dropped something, I don't think she ever gave us a record that wasn't popping.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and that's why I asked, because I would always see us do shows with her. I remember having pictures with her, and so I knew something was happening there with Alicia Keys. As far as when we tell the story of the West Coast, when we tell the story of West Coast radio, why should we put the beat before power?
I would say we should put the beat before power, because the beat is the station that took the aggressive stance on playing Black artists. And this is music that was coming out from Black artists. Case in point, there's the kids that came out with the Teach Me How to Dougie, right? And the Teach Me How to Dougie, they got it over, they went over to Power first. They was like, yo, we're hot on Power. And because Power was a rhythmic station, their top spun record could be 60, 70 times, you know, counting, because they play record, their most played record would play every maybe 20, 30 minutes. It was like all the dime. It was like, you know, they're playing their top record 4 times an hour. With the beat, we may be playing our top record once an hour. So the spins at the beat wall, our spins may max out at 35 spins a week on a regular rotation record, and Power's playing it at 60 times, burning it through, getting it on the mix. Power broke the Teach Me How to Dougie kids. And it was like, okay, cool. Sounds like the Teach Me How to Dougie kids aren't urban artists. You know, the beat's an urban station. Power is not. So cool, you guys live over at Power. Good luck with that. And then they try to take that record across the country, and no one is jumping on it. Why? Because they're looking at LA. So you guys are from LA, and the Black station in LA isn't playing it, but you're coming to Atlanta asking us to play it on our Black stations. That something's not connecting here, right? And that is when artists like that would learn, like, oh, shit, we should have aligned ourselves with the actual urban station first and grown that way, instead of going with the station where the program directors, folks, they're not from the hood. They didn't grow up with this music. They're programmers. They're sitting there like, oh yeah, what are the numbers here? Okay, boom, it's hot, right? They weren't in it like that. Now Power, yes, Power, E-Man and Demiza, they were in it. So to their credit, they were in it, but they were still programming to their demographic, right? Which is different from the beat. And I think that the beat is the station that embraced the hood first and embraced Black music. So that is why we were those stations that made every Black artist coming from the West Coast important, you know. And yeah, you can go get played, you know, 1 million times a day over at Power, but that's an audience that's not going to devote themselves to you, versus the beat who may play your record over a long period of time and let Black folks get into it, you know, because we're just a hard audience, period. We go to comedy clubs and be sitting there like, motherfucker, I dare you to make me laugh. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just what we do. We don't go to comedy clubs to have fun. We go to
exactly. Yeah, we mad dogging until you make us laugh. Trust me, I've been on that stage where people are looking at me like, nigga, make me laugh now.
Right.
So
right.
It's
that was what the beat did. We were the station that put in the work to make our music appeal to our audience. And that's why the beat was so important to West Coast music. Even in the Bay, where you had KMEL still wasn't an urban station, you know? And so that's why even when artists from the Bay would get on the beat, it would just be bigger. Yes, they were dominating the whole Bay Area, the whole Northern California, but then you would get on the beat and you would get, you know, that damn near nationwide thing, you know. And that was just the power of the beat. The beat was just that station for Black music.
It really was, because when you look at artists, even like Sugar Free, you know, repping Pomona, you know, like he can still sell out shows out here.
Yes.
And he's a legend out here, and he can do it. And it's all because of the beat, because Power wasn't playing, you know, like Baby Why You
Oh no. Look, I remember, you can ask Stan Shepard, who, you know, from Shepherd Lane, who put Sugar Free out. He'll tell you that the beat is the station that broke Sugar Free. The beat is the station that helped Quick cross over from being a dominant street artist. Like Quick was always big in the hood, right? But he didn't have radio music. When he started, when the beat starts playing his music and getting it out there, then he crosses over from just, you know, I'm putting out the trunk street hood music to I'm putting out radio music. And these are folks who, like you say, are still doing shows to this day. But I remember I quit Sugar Free had me come to Pomona to chill at his mom's house. Mom's made gumbo. We were sitting in there just spreading love, you know what I'm saying? You know, kicking it with the family and just, you know, all the folks in Pomona who was doing drop for me when I was just, you know, part-time and on the air. Because again, we had that relationship. And I remember them sitting saying like, man, you don't know how important being on the beat means to us. You know what I'm saying? This is like for a lot of cats from LA, getting on the beat was like their biggest goal. You know what I'm saying? Fuck a Grammy, you know what I'm saying? You know, you didn't have to sell a million records. Like, yo, I'm on the beat. The beat means something. It was a legacy station. It was the station that you knew your moms may have grown up listening to the beat, and damn it, your grandma may have grown up listening to the beat too. So, you know, it meant something to those artists. And to this day, you know, you ask any of them, they'll tell you like, yeah, man, the beat was that business. It really was.
It really was. And I mean, I have so many memories, even, you know, Master P. I know
right.
Yeah. And what's your Master P story? And you had a Jill Scott story too.
Master P always showed love. Master P was the cat who came in and had some of the realest stories in the industry. Like, this dude was brilliant. And still, I don't know when I say was, you know, he is brilliant. Master P is brilliant. And when he came in and told us how he got out there, how he got that insane deal with Priority Records, you know, how he's like, look, man, we opened up a record store and we would put our music in the record store and then have our people go in there and buy the records out. You know what I'm saying? And they was like, who is this dude who's selling all these crazy records? And it was just, and when Priority came in, they're like, we got to be a part of this. You know, when he broke that game down, I was like, you are a genius. And Master P always showed mad love. I remember this dude came out to my birthday party and gave me a bottle of Cristal, may have been tall as I was, but this dude, he was all about the business. He was all about the love. And it didn't matter if the records were working or not. Like, there weren't a lot of, you know, No Limit records that really popped at the beat, because the Southern style, it had a tough time in LA because you got one street sound from an entirely different region versus it's like, yeah, but I got to play my artists. I got to play artists from LA who are street artists. So that was always the tough thing about that. But Jill Scott, before Jill Scott was Jill Scott, right? She was on Hidden Beach Records.
Right.
And she had a residency at this small club in LA, and might have been Steve McKeever.
Okay. What's the name of the club?
It was off one of them small side streets. It's like down the street from Highland, like on one of them small streets, like on not Cahuenga, but it's like in between McDonald's and the damn Hollywood Suit Outlet. There was like one of them little small little clubs. It was just a small club, like maybe you had like, you know, maybe 250, 300 people, and the spot was packed out. But they invited me to come out and see Jill Scott. And my first time seeing her on stage, I was like, oh my God, this woman is the absolute truth. Came out a second time. Oh my God, the show's better than next. Came out a third time. Oh my God, the show's incredible. At the time, a brother by the name of Steve Hegwood was Steve, he's the big dog at Radio 1 at the time, because the Beathead was taken over by Radio 1, and Steve Hegwood was in town. And I remember Steve Hegwood when Steve Hegwood first came to the beat, all he called me was motherfucker. Hey, motherfucker. Hey, motherfucker. And then it was.
At least he called you the mother part. I was just a fucker to him.
No, yeah, you know motherfucker. And then it was motherfucking Tawala. And then it was just Tawala. And when I became Tawala, I was like, I done earned this man's respect, because he was just like that. And it was like, and Steve is the one who put me on the air. Steve was like, how come you're not on the air? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, I want you on the air. And Wow, I'll tell you about that. But I remember I played Jill Scott for Steve Hegwood, and Steve Hegwood was like, "No, we're not playing this." It was I think it was Long Walk, and he was like, "This record does not work with where the beat is right now." Because we was really up tempo, 112, all total. We was there with the R&B, right? Hip hop R&B fusion. And I remember Steve Harvey was still, Steve Harvey was hot. This is before Steve Harvey national. This is just Steve Harvey in LA, right? Steve Harvey, he just had LA, and that was it. And I remember I going into the studio, and I was like, I know if I take this record to Steve's gonna love it. I'm gonna hype him up. I said, I'm gonna play both sides of the fence on this one. And I went in there and I was like, Steve. He was like, what's up? What's up, young brother? And I said, man, I got this record from this artist that is old school artist. Because that was how you get to Steve. If it was an old school vibe, he was with. I said, yo, but Hegwood doesn't want to play it, man. This is crazy. And he was like, what? Man, come in here. And Steve's office was right across from mine. Like my office, and he was right across from me. Went in there, played the record from him, and he was like, yo, watch this. Watch this, brother. Watch what I'm gonna do. And he put it on the air the next morning, and he kept playing it. And it wasn't in rotation, but Steve Harvey kept playing it and would clown Hegwood. But not even by then, he was like, man, can you believe the programming department don't want to play this? Hey, Pee-wee, play that record again. And it was like, and he kept playing it every morning. And we put it into call out research. And I remember Hegwood was like, motherfuckers, well, I see what you did there. I see what the fuck you did. Fuck you for that. Fuck you for that, right? Yeah. But we put in the call out, and it came back gangbusters. And next thing you know, Jill Scott is on the motherfucking beat, and it was a hit. This is, she was getting love in Philly because of where she was from, but like when the beat got on it, that was like, oh shit, the beat who's playing all these other artists is jumping on Jill Scott. Yeah,
that was what was dope about the station, because I'm an R&B head, and I rock with hip hop, but the beat was like the only station where I could hear full on ballads like Jill Scott's,
right,
the Erykah Badu's, the D'Angelo's,
all
the
that
Maxwell's, and then see them in concert at the Holiday Cool Down.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then in summertime, see the hip hop artists, which was super dope, and really, and like even like John B and these type of artists too. So
yeah,
it really did set the tone for not just the beat, but just the way R&B is. Because when you talk about like when people say R&B is dead, it's just because it's not programmed the way that the beat had it, and that's really what set up a lot of these artists that are hot now. Because imagine, going back to your original story about Destiny's Child, right? Where's Beyonce at this point if the momentum doesn't start at this point, right? It doesn't move at the same pace. Look at Mary J. Blige. Her, I remember her at the beat also. Mary had a huge impact at the beat.
Huge impact. There, it was because I think all the programmers at the beat, everyone that I work with, Scorpio, Calicochi, Michelle S., on down, every program director, Hegwood, loved the music, and they all trusted, me. They trusted Dorsey, and then even after Dorsey was out, it was, it's back, Tawala was this, but they knew that I lived and breathed the music, that they knew that we had our ear to the street, and they trusted us as programmers. I remember we wanted Mace on Summer Jam one year, and he was coming back, and he had the Welcome Back record, and I went and sat in the studio with Mace and Kuda, and I was like, this record is the truth. You are back, brother. This is fire. I want you on Summer Jam. And he was like, nah, I can't do Summer Jam. There was still the pain of Biggie's death. And just kind of like the nah. And I said, I'm gonna do something major to get you on Summer Jam. And And there's like and I was like, listen to the station tonight. And Eric Kubici and K Sly were on the air, and they had top 8 at 8, I think it was. Some, you know, there's some countdown show, right, of music, the top whatever number of songs. And I went to our program director. I think it might have been Calicochi at the time. I gotta look, but maybe Scorpio. I love Scorpio. But I said, hey, I want to put this record on, and I want to make this record every single record on the top 8 at 8. And we played that record like 8 times in a row.
Are you kidding?
The Welcome Back record. It was like, yo, coming in at number 5. And they had a new way that they were bringing it every time.
Right.
You know, Melody was scratching in or Curse was scratching. It was, we kept dropping that record, and they was listening, and they were like, we have never heard anything like that before in our lives. We've never heard of a station doing something that insane. We'll be there. You know, and Mace was, he was, you know, preaching, and he was like, look, the only way I'll do it, I'll come do the show on Saturday, but you got to have a Gulf Stream to get me back to church by Sunday morning. We was like, done deal. Had him straight to the airport after the show. But those are the kind of moves that you could make in radio back in the day. I remember you talked about Holiday Cool Down. Remember one year I bet my whole career on it. I said, I want to do a hip hop holiday cool down, because R&B artists, it was cool, but it was a weird flux. Like it was like, not that there weren't dope R&B artists, but the holiday cool down needed some new life.
Right.
You know, we had done an all guys holiday cool down with like Mario and Marcus Houston and all those young, you know, hot dudes. And we put them all on the stage, and that was a record-breaking type of thing. You know, Genuine was on that show. They was like, oh my God. But I said, you know what? We got to do something different. And I said, I want to do a hip-hop holiday cool down. And they were like, what? Hip-hop holiday cool down. And we put The Roots, Common, Jurassic 5. We put, who else was on there? I believe Talib. We put Dub C. It was just, and the only R&B act on that bill was Raphael Sadiq. And it was just nonstop underground hip hop acts. One of the greatest shows ever heard. I remember Common was on stage that was like, you guys are witnessing history. You will never see a show like this ever again. Like, because at that time you had never seen an all hip hop show, straight B-boys all on stage. And this is when the Roots had everyone. This is when they had Rozelle, Scratch. They had, you know, Hubbard on the band. It was the Roots, the full band.
And if you've never seen a Roots show, the Roots show is probably the most incredible thing you'll ever see.
Oh, ever, ever.
And when you talk about venues too in LA, these are not small, but we were at like the Universal Amphitheater.
Yes.
These are huge. I don't know what the Universal Amphitheater is now, but it was
whatever it is at that point, 8,000 people. And I remember they came to me, and I remember it was who was it? Might have been Mary Catherine Sneed, who was like the senior vice president of Radio One. So then she came and she was like, would you bet your career on this concert? And I'm like, yes. Hell yes. I trust this concert will sell out faster than any summer jam ever. And it was like, sure, okay, whatever, sure, you know, go for it. And when that bill hit the air and they just went down the line, I think that concert sold out in like under an hour. Every ticket gone, 8,000 tickets gone in under an hour. Once they heard it, it was fire. Those are the type of things that we were able to do. Back when I was at the Beat, when I was in there, I remember Mariama or Liz, you know, who was like her sister, whatever, would come in and be like, yo, we got another hot record, put it on right now, because you could do that. It was like, fuck what we programmed. We got a hot record, put it on the air. If we got a hot record, I could run it into the mixers and be like, throw it on. This shit is fire. We're breaking it right now. And because we lived that.
And that was the thing that I thought made radio relevant. I think that's the thing that can continue to make radio relevant if it was done that way, even now, because it's hard to really get the experience. Online you can get what it is, but if artists had a free range to kind of come into the studio, talk or whatever, that would be competitive with what's happening online. Because if say for instance, Kendrick's on the air with somebody and was able to keep it 100 and talk to listeners and that's an experience that you're not just going to get, because you can literally call up in real time and get this experience. Radio doesn't allow us to do that anymore. So it's a different vibe. When the whole death row situation was going on with Bad Boy, Hot 97 played a role, Power 105 played a role. What was the Beats role in that whole situation, and how did you guys handle it?
We actively did our best not to take part. For us, I remember record reps and even artists telling us like, yo, the program director over at Hot, whatever, she won't even take our phone calls. She's like, no West Coast music at all. That was a dictate from my understanding. I wasn't working there, but that's what kept coming back, like, yo, we ain't playing none of that. But for me, I love music. When I say I love music, I'm not someone who says I love music and all I listen to is hip hop. To me, you don't love music, you love hip hop, right? I listen to everything. If you play a Taylor Swift song for me and it's fire, I'm gonna call it fire. When all that was going on, you got pushback from folks in the street, like, yo, how y'all still supporting folks? But we also had the Wake Up Show, on the beat, a show who's responsible for breaking some of the illest MCs to ever live came through the Wake Up Show. How are we going to take a side in something that really isn't even true? I saw I remember when Biggie came to the beat, and I was there that night, and I was ready to hate. I was ready to be like, man, motherfucking Biggie coming up in here, man, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Because personally, I felt some kind of way because the energy kept getting built up. They're not showing us no love. Only the beat showing us love. So after a while, you start feeling like maybe I should take a side. Now, I remember when Biggie came up, it was Biggie, C's, and maybe like two other people, but I don't think either of them were security. And when I tell you, he was one of the most humble, one of the coolest cats you would ever be in their presence. And I remember they was talking about the East Coast, West Coast beef. And I remember they was laughing, not laughing at the West Coast, but they was laughing about how ridiculous it was. They were like, dude, we got friends and family out here. Like we came up on this music. We came up on West Coast hip hop. Like that's what gave us our gangster flair. How we gonna hate y'all? You know what I'm saying? That like don't believe what the streets is talking, like that ain't us. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here by myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm Biggie wherever I go. I don't need to roll with 50 million dudes. You know what I'm saying? Because what I say in my music is real. I'm a real dude. That's why I'm up here to show love. And I swear, him and Lil C, two of the most shocking interactions I've ever had with artists, because he was so disarming. He was just like so friendly and not even an act. He was just like a dude that I'm like, man, I swear you're like a dude that I grew up with.
And it's so interesting too, because it's just like that point was, just to hear that, and then you're here on the beat, and Snoop is basically a resident of the beat. Did you talk to Snoop? Did you have his number? Like, did he talk?
Nah, like I did my best not to interact with too many. There are some folks who we know each other by first name. You know what I'm saying? Dub CC's, Tawala, what up? Quick. There's folks that you just after years you bond with. Snoop was always cool. All those cats were always cool. There was never any issues with none of the West Coast acts, except for, kind of like, I want my music played. You know what I'm saying? Everyone wants their music played though. So that wasn't something new. So there wasn't like, even none of them really came up and really even try to hype up the beef. I remember, a couple of cats tried to argue it with Julio on the air, but Julio wasn't about that either. Julio was like, I'm gonna play what I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play what I'm play, Holmes. You know what I'm saying? And that was it. You know,
and that's the thing that's so interesting because it was so one sided to the East Coast, and out here we weren't really. It wasn't on air. It wasn't really tripping like that.
nah.
The irony of the whole situation, though, is that Biggie got shot a few blocks away from the radio station.
I was at the station that night. I was literally at the station that night because I was supposed to go to that party. I was at the station. I was staying late, doing some late night programs. So I was like, you know what? The party's right down the street. I'll just literally walk down the street. It's you can see the Peterson Auto Museum from the 19th floor of the station on Wilshire, right?
On Wilshire,
you can look at it, so I could see the party going on. You know, you can see all the cars and the traffic and all that. I'm like, I'm gonna walk over there. And I remember chilling. And I think I was maybe in the studio with who was on the air. Julio might have still been on the air because I think it might have been Saturday night and he might have been doing whatchamacallit, the whatchamacallit show. But I remember looking out the window and seeing police cars and seeing, you know, a lot of cars and police and just all over. And I remember like, ah, man, damn party got turned out. And I was like, you know, all right, fuck it, you know, I'm gonna go home. And it wasn't until like the next day that we found out that Biggie had been shot there. You know what I'm saying? We were like, yo, like, you're fucking kidding. That's impossible. It's impossible. But then it was real.
And so now you're at the beat because this is the Heritage Station, right? We're talking about, hey, we ain't tripping off the West Coast, East Coast beef and all this stuff. Now Biggie, just in the studio, you know what I'm saying, like a few months or whatever, and he got shot a few blocks away from not even a few, literally a few blocks away from the station.
Yeah.
Now, what's the energy on the air and what's the internal conversation going on at the radio station to relay to the public? And what are we talking about in the indoors also?
It was inside. It was one of the deepest pains. You know, it was identical to the pain of losing Pac. You know, the pain was identical because this is someone whose music, you remember, like we was playing everything. You know, everything Biggie, everything Bad Boy, we were still playing it. We were still on it, and we felt that loss deeply. And I know on air, it was a position of mourning, and a position of like, you know, kind of like we got to stop this violence. You know, like this isn't the way. And there were no sides taken. There wasn't, you know, like you know, don't fuck with the West Coast, aha, East Coast. No, it was like, man, dude, a dude lost his life, man, right down the street. And we felt that, you know, and you felt that on the air. And I remember there was a sense of sorrow on the air, just a sorrow for music, because the music lost a giant, you know, someone who, you know, him and Pac, that, you know, their impact on the culture, their impact on music, you know, you got to think two different realms of music popped off with him. You know, when Pac hit Death Row skyrocketed. You know, it was out of here. It was out of here. Bad Boy was out of here. You're talking about literally a yin and a yang, you know, two one coin, opposite sides, you know, and to see that coin tossed away like that, this shit hurt. The impact of that hurt. And I remember it took a lot of healing and a lot of conversation and rebuilding with East Coast artists. I remember there are a lot of East Coast artists who were not like real cool about coming on to the beat. You know, I'd say that there were a lot of East Coast artists who were real hesitant to even be in the area. You know, you had some folks who were like, you know, I'm brolic wherever I go. But it did hit. It really, really hit. It hit in how we were able to do concerts. That impacted, you know, our concerts as a whole. I remember we did one summer jam at the Home Depot Center.
Right.
And we had to sit down with the Los Angeles Sheriff and the LAPD, and they had to approve our lineup. And if there were any West Coast acts on the bill, they were removed. They were
Wow.
literally the sheriff's department. They went over our whole lineup and they were like, nope, 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 nope. How does the #1 urban station on the entire West Coast, The Beat, not be able to have any of our West Coast artists on the fucking stage?
That's
You know,
crazy.
do you know those conversations, how those conversations sounded when you have a summer jam and you've got Snoop and everyone saying, what the fuck you mean I can't be on summer jam? Yo, and that's what caused the division between The Beat and West Coast hip hop acts, because Power took advantage of that. Power was like, come on, we here, come on over. The Beat ain't fucking with you, we're fucking with you. And that caused the division because they couldn't understand it. For them, it was like, it was personal, and it actually was. It was personal because they were targeted, because just because of their affiliation, they couldn't take part in one of the biggest celebrations of music on the West Coast.
Right.
You know, the Summer Jam was that thing. And I remember there was one point we wanted to have Gorilla Black on. And I remember they're like, no, Gorilla Black, he's affiliated with the Black Gorilla family, and this, that is gang related. We're like, but he's not. You know what I'm saying? Right. No. And they're just like, nope. And we're like, okay, damn. And we broke Gorilla Black. So how do we break this artist? And the year we're playing his music and blowing him up, we can't have him on Summer Jam? Oh, that shit hurt bad. But that's what, and I remember, I think it was DJ Quick who said, like, one time he came up, he's like, man, we done gang banged ourselves out of music, man. I remember he was like heartbroken over what was going on. He was just like, I can't even believe this, man. But I think that kind of, a lot of artists, a lot of folks in LA kind of took notice and kind of were like, wow, like this is the impact. You saw the impact right then and there when it's like, we can't have you on our bill. And that's what this means.
And it made a huge difference because the transition from like West Coast, because West Coast, it was a huge imprint and was the soundtrack for a while. And then once it got crazy out here, you know, between what was happening, Biggie getting shot, Snoop going to the Beat can't play your music, the culture is not connected, and then you see the South just kind of take off.
Yes, yeah.
And the South just kept the torch.
Yeah, still got the torch and ain't letting it go.
And ain't letting it go. And so the Beat at a certain point, you know, and it does bring context to a lot of things too, because how, you know, Power kind of was able to capitalize on what was happening with the station, just the politics of what's going on with music at a certain point, all that thing kind of, you know, all comes together.
Yeah.
The beat goes under. And so what happened for you when the Beat shifted and you couldn't be there anymore? What was that like, and where were you at when that happened?
I remember when the Beat went under, and at this point Radio One had taken over the Beat, and you know, Radio One at the time, I don't believe Radio One understood the complexity of Los Angeles, because when Radio One came in, they wanted the Beat to be a true urban station, meaning they wanted Black hosts on the air. And they made the move to get rid of the no color lines. They were like, nah, this is a Black station. We don't need all that. And they made moves to change the personalities on the air. And so that's why you had legends like Diana Steele going away. You had Theo going away. You had Julio going away. And radio is all about change. You know, this is just what radio does. Like anyone that thinks like, oh, that's fucked up. No, it's radio. All right. But it was such a dramatic shift. And you bring in Adimu and Keisha Monk and you bring Lala out, and you know, and you just have all these, and Kevin Nash takes over, and it's you have just a station that's blacker than black, right? and Steve Harvey on in the morning. And it turned into, at the time, remember, they changed it to Harvey Hip Hop and R&B.
Mm-hmm.
And mad love to Steve Harvey, but you knew right then and there it was going to be a problem. The beat was going to be a problem because Power 106 they flipped, and it was just like LA's home for hip hop and R&B. And it was like, oh, you're killing me. You're killing me. We're over here with the Harvey hip hop and R&B, as Steve Harvey was the lead. And he was larger than life. So I understand their thinking, but I remember being in that meeting and they were like, we need a new brand. And I was like, LA's home for hip hop and R&B. And they were like, that doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, okay, I mean, it meant something to me. Power flips, and that's who they become, and so all these little things start happening. And then you got to think, you make your station basically all Black. All right. In a market where at the time, Black people only made up 6.5% of the entire population. That's why no color lines work, because yes, we targeted that 6.5%, but we said if Black people love it, again, Latinos will really dig it, white, Asian, all that, everyone will dig it, and we're all listening to the same music, but the beat recognized Black folks were the trendsetters, right? If we're digging it, everyone else will dig it. But they said, no, we're gonna really zone it in, and we're just gonna target Black folks. And then
and I think what the disconnect happened there was, it wasn't because even if Diana Steele was Black, even if Theo was Black, and even it still would have worked. Yeah. I think that what happened with that particular situation was they brought in people that weren't local to LA.
That hurt.
That's really what it came down to. I thought the Blackness wasn't the issue. It was the locality wasn't the you have to be. It's the same thing as like if an LA dude that's born and raised in LA is trying to talk about the Bronx or New York and Yonkers, and you don't have that thing. And so and those are my, like, shout to La, shout to, like, it's but it's just a different energy out here. And so if you even look at out here in LA, just even the broadcasters like Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, these are people that's been in LA for
forever,
and people in LA just kind of know what it is. And so when you switch it up like that and you have zero connections, that's the thing. It's like they basically, it wasn't so much the personalities, it was just that everybody that they brought in was unplugged from the streets. Like all of the foundation and the fertilizer you use to give credibility for a Diana Steele to come in and a Theo to come in and all these folks to come in, you virtually just toss that out. And now, you know how LA folks are like, who is you?
And they hear you, they hear Demu on the air talking about DC and Lalo on there talking about, Atlanta and Kishima. It's just, you're right. Like they were great personalities. Demu, he built a solid relationship, but that the lack of being from the West, and then you started bringing in more and more and more Southern music. And for LA, it was a whole lot of, wait, who? And then a lot of folks in LA, it's just we were slow. We were slow to the table on Southern music, and that influence and bringing it in, and it may have been popping in the streets and pockets, but it was a tough sell. The Southern music was a tough sell in LA, but because Radio 1's foundation was in the South, and in all Black markets where that Southern music was popping, that's when you started hearing more No Limit. That's when you started hearing more Cash Money. That's when you started hearing more Southern acts, period. And that was a transition that it was too slow for the beat to really ramp up. So it was just a whole lot of different things that happened at that point in time. And then all of a sudden, Radio 1 got this brilliant idea to bring, after Steve Harvey was out, they put on John Sally. They tried John Sally in the morning, and that just never got a chance. It just never got a chance to click. And then all of a sudden they were like, okay, we're gonna do a hybrid station. And then they wanted to bring on Tom Joyner And they brought on Michael Baisden, and at a certain point in time, Wendy Williams was on. It was just a whole lot of wait, what? And then they were like, okay, the beat is gone. And I remember I was on vacation and someone called me, they were like, yo, I just heard that they're flipping the beat. And I was like, fuck out of here. The beat is a legend. The beat is going nowhere. And I came back to town and they were like, yep, the beat's gone. We're closing up shop. Fuck it, we out. And they flipped us to V100. And it was just an urban adult station, which again, 6% of the population in LA is Black. You want to now go urban adult, which means you want to cut that demographic in half. So now you want to go after 3% of the population in LA. And your target is going to be women directly. So now you're going after 1.5% of the population in LA. Another thing about LA is if you go all Black, you got to understand that at that time when they were doing that, a lot of the Black people in Los Angeles didn't live in Los Angeles anymore. They lived in the IE, they lived in Moreno Valley, Riverside, Antelope Valley. They moved out. Why? Because of gentrification, because of houses just being cheaper in those different areas. So they all may work in LA, and a lot of them grew up listening to the beat, but they didn't live in the Los Angeles metro. They didn't live in the area responsible for turning in books to rate your station. So our ratings started to go down. When you only want to target Black folks and there's not enough Black folks to make up a pie, and you're only trying to deal with a little slice and you're still trying to win, yeah, your station is gonna suffer. And they flipped to V100. You already got KGLH in LA. KGLH, you can't go play in Stevie Wonder's backyard. Stevie Wonder's like, get the fuck out of here. This is my zone. I do urban adult. I play the OJs. I play my music. This is my lane. Goodbye. And then, and the beat had to say goodbye. V100 said goodbye. And that was it. And that was, I remember we was taking plaques off the wall and, big up my man Chuck. Chuck got the Tupac plaque from like, hey, the guy was like, yeah, Chuck, you could have that. Like, it was such a sad day to see all the stuff come off the walls, to see the music that we had all in there just put into a storage unit. And it was just like, man, dude, I can't believe this is really, really over.
And at this point, did in the back of your mind, you're like, I should have went with Bone Thugs and Harmony?
No, because I still felt what we did was legend. And at that point in time, this is when stuff really towards the end of the beat, this is right around the point of the whole Elliot Spitzer shit, when he was trying to look at like, who's getting paid to play music? Right. I remember one day, I remember I had a record I wanted to get on, and I had to have my general manager send the general manager of the label a letter to make sure that it was all clear that I wasn't getting paid to play the record and this, that, and I'm like, the fuck is this? And I remember sitting in the music meeting one time and having to justify why I wanted to play a Marcus Houston record. And I'm like, IMX, B2K, like Marcus, he's a core artist for us. And it was like, but why? Why would you play this record? And I'm like, you had to have like, I don't know how many different points of justification to play a record. And I'm like, at a certain point in time, it wasn't even about programming music anymore. It was about, hey, Tawala, here are the records that we think will be good for the beat this week. And I'm like, I'm not really programming. I'm scheduling music. And at this point, I'm just scheduling. And that's
it. I mean, and I think that goes even today. That's what most people are doing now. They're just scheduling music. And so now for you as Tawala Sharp, the human, the person, and you've had this incredible situation at the beat. Now what's, just on a human level, what's going through your mind as far as your next move?
At that point in time, I was like, you know what? I see a lot of my peoples in the music industry consulting and trying to help artists and help them figure out this game. And me and my man Kai, we started up a consultancy, and we would just try to work with artists on how to get in. And I was taking this gig and that gig on just coaching and helping come up with plans on like, here's how radio works. Here's how you actually attract a programmer to get on your record. You know, it's not just you can fuck if your record is hot, like you and the homies think it's hot. What are you giving me to show me that the record is hot? Are you bringing me, like, you know, the word on the street from the mixers? What are you doing? And I was coaching artists through that for a minute. And then I got married shortly before the beat had faded and during V100, and then I got sick. My kidneys failed me.
Oh wow.
And I was on dialysis, you know, for many years. Towards the end of the beat, I was on dialysis, and just, you know, so after the beat folded, right around the exact same time, like when I got my transplant, and me and my family, we moved to Erie, Pennsylvania. And I was in Erie, Pennsylvania for about 2 years before we said, nah, fuck this snow. I ain't doing the snow. Came back to LA, and my man Mo Kelly, he reached out to me and he was like, hey T, I'm working at this news talk station, KFI, and they're about to give me a shot to be on the air. And you know, I'm looking for a producer, you know, Kevin Fleming, my man 50 grand. You know, I was talking to him and he said, yo, holla at Tawala. And he's the dude that you need on your show. And I was like, at the time, I was like, KFI? Man, the Rush Limbaugh station? Right. Oh man, hell nah, man. Hell no, I ain't fucking with that. And he was like, T, KFI is the biggest news talk station damn near in the country. This station is a monster. And it's one thing to think a certain thing about a station, but if we're not on the inside, how do we make change? Because you can be outside mad about something all day long. If you really want to affect change, you have to be inside. That's why you got brothers and sisters who are running for political office. You got brothers and sisters who are joining the police force and who are doctors and lawyers, because we as a people have to be in the room when conversations are happening, whether it's advertising, filmmaking, whatever. If we're not in the room, then we're going to see the disrespect every single time that we rage about on hashtag whatever. So I said, you know what? Cool. Let me come over and see what KFI is about. And I discovered a new passion in news talk radio. There are stories that we'll break. There are stories that we'll get on the air that I get the exact same thrill as playing as debuting a new artist or breaking a record. Like, yo, we got this story first. Yo, we got to, now the story's everywhere. It's crazy. And now you fast forward 10 years later, and this is my life, like news talk radio, creating conversations and having the time to break stuff down. You know, when I'm getting these stories to Mo, or I'm helping guide the show, I live for this, you know, so I'm still in radio.
And that's so cool, because it just shows, you know, the transition from where you're at and how it's the same passion, but it's just in a different package now, which is so dope. And I think that's awesome. And just kind of going back a little bit to the health situation, you kind of brushed by that. And it's just like, when you were going through that portion of it,
and look, I was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go over to the dialysis center down the street from the station it was on I think it was off of Wilshire, like Wilshire and Fairfax. Oh no, Wilshire and La Brea. Mm-hmm. And I would go in there, do my treatment, you know, I'd be on that machine from 4 to 6 or whatever, or 4 to 8. Yeah, because I was on for 4 hours. I would be on there from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. I get off, they take me up, and I'd go to the station. And I'd be sitting in the station. Sometimes my arm will bleed, and I'd be sick, have the door closed, so I'd be in there throwing up in a trash can, but got to program this damn music.
Was your life ever in danger? Did they say you have
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I like, look, I have seen people die on dialysis, like literally, like waking up and then you know, someone flatline right across me. They you know, just complications, and you think to yourself, I've got to come back here, you know, in another day or so. There is no, I'm not going to do dialysis tomorrow.
And in your mind, what's the process of just like when you reflect on your life and what you need to do, and what's your motivation to keep going?
At that time, because I just just had my little girl. No, actually, no. My son was born early on when I was on dialysis, and it was my whole motivation was seeing him grow up. My motivation was to keep going, to go to work sick, to be there no matter what, feeling like I'm dying inside while still scheduling music. And if it took me 9 hours to schedule music, it took me 9 hours to schedule the music, because I had to take a break. I had to close my eyes and sleep for like 30 minutes just because I was so worn out. But it was like, I love this. I love this thing that I do. It's, I had to be forced to take a vacation one time. It was like, Tawala, it's literally been 5 years that you have never taken a day off. You've got to take a day off or you're going to be fired. We will fire you if you do not take a day off. You've got like 5 years of vacation time stored up. Take 2 weeks. Do not take a computer with you. Do not call us. Nothing. Take 2 weeks to yourself. It's 2 weeks of hell. It's 2 weeks of hell. 2 weeks of me listening to the station like, I would freak out. Like, I was in that station all day, every day. But I was doing overnights. I would be, I was programming all day. I would leave at like 5, 6 o'clock, eat some dinner, take care of some business, go to sleep for a couple hours, be back at midnight. You know what I'm saying?
And for you, do you think, and this is the therapy portion of it I'm talking about, do you think that it was all because of your love and passion, or you think you were trying to avoid something that was happening in your life?
No, I was just so, it was addictive. One thing, a lot of people in radio will tell you, the reason that we love it and the reason that we stay, it's addictive. There's something about the constant, everyday creative drive, that constant flow of energy. It never lets you go. It's something really addictive about being fulfilled in that way. And it's just, it brought me absolute joy through all the stresses or whatever of, this artist is backed out of this concert, or this DJ is, they played a curse word on the air, whatever. There was something so addictive about it. And I think it was just, my grandmother, rest in peace, she told me, she said, find something you love doing and make a career out of it, and you'll never work a day in your life. And in, some 15 years at the Beat, I never worked a day in my life. I loved it. I loved every moment. I loved the people, and it was the people. I've worked a lot of places in my life. I worked a lot of different jobs, here and there. But there was something about the people. There was such a special crew of people that we worked with. It was like these are people who all these years later, the Beat's been gone since 2006, and we still will bond and get together. We know each other's family, we know each other's kids and mother. We all the hardships that we've gone through, we still stay connected. It was like when we say Beat fam for life, it's that thing. It's like a fraternity, and like if you were a part of it, then you know what made it your life. You know what I'm saying? I think we street here, I remember seeing y'all coming in 3 o'clock in the morning and then still having to go out, at 6 o'clock in the morning, be like, I'm ready. I'm gonna drink some Red Bull and be ready, because that's what it was.
And that's an understatement, because when we talk about Tawala, the person, the individual, it's just, when I'll do these interviews and I can't make people say Tawala's name,
Right.
People are really, really, you impacted the direction and the trajectory of their life, and they owe so much to you. The love that you said, because I think a lot of times we get lost in just, it sounds like clicheisms all the time until you talk to the individuals and you hear the impact, and not just the impact, the tonality when somebody says that. If it wasn't, if it wasn't for Tawala, and Tawala, like it's just so impactful. And even people like that, when I talk to my other friend, they love you to death. And so you're loved, and we want you to stay here, and we want you to take those breaks. And
I'm trying to be, man. I'm trying to be.
And you've made so much for so many people. And
I think that's all God, man. I really when I prayed on it, and I said what what I wanted, and when the Most High answered my prayer and delivered a pathway for me to be at the beat, it changed my life. It fulfilled, it fulfilled such a goal, like something like I wanted every single thing that I got there. I wanted to be on air, wanted to be the music director, wanted to be the program director, all these different things. I did it. And I told God, what I would do to repay the favor would be to help every single person that I can in whatever way that I can, whether it be to help someone get on the air, whether it be to help an artist get on, whether it be to help, a salesperson with a commercial, whatever it was. I said, I will always make myself available. I answered every single email. I returned every single phone call. Even if it took me a week, I would hit, I don't care if you are, Boo Boo Mick MC, right. I'm gonna holler back because you reached out. And I'm gonna give you the exact same respect that I would give to Def Jam calling me about Jay-Z, because I said, like, that will be what I do. I will always make sure that I am able to provide this type of light for somebody. If I'm able to repay this blessing by blessing someone else, by helping someone get in, then that's what I would do. And that's what I continue to do. The intern I work with now, they trip because I show them how to do my job. And I'm like, your internship isn't successful here at KFI until you can do my job. Before you leave this internship, you will produce the show, top to bottom, all you, because that's what it means to me to pay it back, to pay it forward, to make sure we're constantly reaching back over the wall to lift folks up and make sure that we all shine, brother.
Absolutely. And definitely double salute for you for that. And thank you. And also talk to me about Nerdorama, the podcast.
Oh man, look, Nerdorama, I'm a lifelong nerd, lifelong comic collector. I got 30 years of comic books in my garage, and Nerdorama came out of just one day on the Mo Kelly show. We were talking about something nerdy, and the response was through the roof. The phones, the emails, the social media, everyone was like, yo, blah, 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 blah. And we said, we've got to turn this into something. So we started doing Nerdorama as a segment on the Mo Kelly show, and it still is. And then, iHeartRadio came to us and said, what do you guys think about doing a podcast? We were like, sure, we can do a podcast. And they're like, well, how many days a week? And we're like, every day. And they're like, no, seriously, like what day? Like, what day would you want to do? We're like, every day. And they're like, no one does a daily podcast. We're like, we will. And now Monday through Friday, we do Nerdorama. I post it whenever I can, as soon as I'm done, whatever I'm thinking about, whatever we get on, whether it's, an artist or whatever, or a comic, artist, actor, someone, we put it on. And now Monday through Friday, we're I think, 2.5, 3 years, we just hit our 1100th episode.
Congratulations.
So yeah, man, we're doing it, and I love it. Like Nerdorama, you can find on iHeartRadio, Mo Kelly show, Saturday, Sundays on KFI. Join the conversation,
Absolutely. And where can we find Tawala Sharp? Where can we get you
at? You know what? I am on Twitter at, I believe it's Mr. Tawala Sharp. But you'll see a picture of me. It's Twitter, you'll see a picture of me. I think it's at Tawala. I'm not really savvy like that on the socials. On Facebook, it's Tawala Sharp, and on Instagram, I think it's Mr. Tawala Sharp too. Or if you search up Nerdorama, NERD-O-Rama, you'll see me on there. You can probably follow me that way. But yeah, I'm not super familiar with the socials like that. I post stuff because you got to post stuff. But yeah, hit me up. I think I'm a cool dude. I like to, talk to folks, say what's up.
Yes, indeed. More than a cool dude, man. You are just, you are a legend, and you're special and talented, and you've given so much. I
appreciate that,
LA, man. It's just, it's amazing. And I want to thank you for hanging out, man. Tawala Sharp, Double salute, brother. You are.
Hey man, look, man,
You are the one.
Real. Nah,
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on, having this conversation, and allow me to, you know, share a little bit of beat history with folks. You know, and I appreciate you for what you do. Like you know, you shining the spotlight on what it was to be the beat. I mean, you're creating a documentary here, brother. Like this right now, the stuff you're capturing, the conversations, the moments. This is big. You know, someone needs to check you out, bro, and go on and sign that contract and give you that deal, because you're doing it for real. You are doing something so magical. I absolutely had to be a part of it, man. I appreciate you for doing this, and just for you know, again, putting that spotlight on the beat, man. It means a lot, man. It means a whole lot.
Absolutely, and putting on the spotlight on the people. And I think like you and the individuals really like you make it. That's what made the beat, was the people. And,
yes, sir.
And you know, the branches that come from, you know, the people,
right,
and
right.
the branches of branches is really what it can. So, you know, as much as I love the beat, I love you more, brother. So
For real,
that's what it's all about, man.
For real, for real.
All right, thank you so much, Tawala
Yes, sir.
Sharp in the building.